Yvonne here, and I'd like to show you a little tip on how I store my ink pads and what you can do to make it more organized, I guess is what I'm going to say. I'm going to show you how easy it is to make these little pockets that I store my ink pads, as you can see on the picture that I put out before, and even for the small ones. These I store Stampin' Up. This is Memento. Here's just a Craft Smart. It fits in there no problem. Here's a palette from the Hybrid. Don't even know who does that. Acid-free Hybrid. And then a Stays On, as you can tell. The only one that's a little bigger is the Stampin' Up, which is this size here. So let me show you how I do this. It's so simple, guys. You can adjust it to the ink pads that you have. I like to do mine mostly all the same size, but I thought I would show you because I have more of these than I do of the other ones. So I make the same size just because it works better. But if you want to make the ones to fit the Stampin' Up, you will cut 5 1/4 across. If you want to, all the other measurements will be the same. If you want to fit the Memento or anything like that, if you have a stock of that size of ink pad, you will cut it at 4 1/4 across. Okay, so I'm going to do the Stampin' Up one, and I'm going to cut it at 5 1/4. So remember, if you have smaller, you'll cut it at 4 1/4. So I'm going to cut mine here, 5 1/4, like this. And then I'm going to cut it at 9 1/4. So you guys will be cutting the same length, the same width, whether if you're doing a Stampin' Up. Oops, what time I trade in my blade, I think. All right, well, so anyway, so this is for Stampin' Up. I'm going to cut it this way at 9 1/4 by 5 1/4. If I want to do it for the other one, which is Memento, you're going to cut it at 4 1/4, okay? And that'll fit for these. They will also fit in these here. They'll also fit in there, and you can slide them out and whatever. But if you would like for them to fit a little snug, a little better snug, this is how you do it. So I'm going to do it for this pad here. So you don't have to use the color coordination. I have, just because I had a choice and I had them. So I for all my color inks, I use all my yellows. I used yellow, and all my blues I used blue, and all my greens, just to make it look pretty, I guess, pinks and so forth. But it doesn't make it work any better. It's just because I did it that way. You could do it all in white if you want to, or all in black. That's totally up to you. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Once you have it on the long side, you will score it at 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch, and then at 5 1/4, you will bring it down to 4 1/2. Okay, and score if you don't flip your cardstock around, it'll be at 4 1/2. And then I have a short one here, so I'm going to turn it over. Now, when you do it the long, what I mean by that is it's 3/4 inch, and then I didn't flip it over and go 3/4 inch again. I did 3/4 inch, and here I did it at 4 1/2 inches. Okay, and all I did is to complete the line, I just flipped it over. Now I'm going to go on the long side, and I'm going to make the center part, the part that's right here. So in order to do that, I will score at 4 1/4. So you want to score at 4 1/4, and you want to score at 5. So in reality, what you have is you have scored 3/4 inch here, 3/4 inch here, and 3/4 inch in the center. All right. So at this point, what I do normally is I'll fold it like so, even, and then I'll take my 1 1/2 inch punch that I purchased from EK. I've had for a while, but I'm sure they still sell them. And I eyeball approximately this center. Now you can do this after you've you've made your folds too. You don't have to do it right. I like to do it now. So you just punch it through. And the reason for this is I like a little bit of, you know, I have big fingers and I like to be able to grab my ink pad. And I find with that, it works really, really well. So now I'm going to burnish all my folds. All right, guys? So I like to burnish them. That way there I know it's a firm crease and it's going to be even all the way through. So when I do put my adhesive on, it'll match square. So here we are, like this. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut the corners here. And the reason for that is, and I'm going to cut it in a little V. We all know that it saves the bulk. And if you don't, that's a nice little trick you should start using, is when you cut like that, it just doesn't make it doesn't make it so bulky where you're folding and glue it together. So at this point, I have it all pulled out there. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take you can use whatever adhesive you want, wet or dry, it's still going to work. And all I'm going to do at this point is I am going to fold this and fold this one on top, like so. And I am going to match, so these guys here will fit in the center like that, okay? And then I'm going to fold, put the adhesive on the inside, obviously. And I'm just going to match up to make it square. Match up right there. And the rest should match up quite well. Look at that. See how simple that is? It's really easy. And the thing being is that there, the box is done. I didn't put my adhesive maybe as good as I wanted to, but anyway, it works. And my thing is there and my iPad, and here you go. So what I did is that I lined them up, okay? So in my cubby that I have, I could put 3 in a row. So what I did is hypothetically, let's say it's 3 of the same size, which really wouldn't matter, but in this case. And then I took some cork board, you know what I mean by these at the dollar store. Okay, foam core is what I meant to say. And I just cut a strip off to fit on top of this. And the only reason is that if I want to pull out the whole thing, I can pull it off, like pull out the whole box, like I did for this one. By adding a piece of foam core on top, it does 2 things. It stabilizes everything because it's just thick enough that it keeps everything straight. The boxes will not fold. And then when you put 3 more on top, it just stacks. So all I did was cut off a piece, and the piece that I had cut out is 3 inches, and I laid it on top of those 3, and then I just added more on top. Okay, and that's how I ended up with the look. Now, if you're wondering, you know, how do you measure to make those? Well, all I did was measure, although I've seen this before, I had it in my little books. Whoops, sorry, guys, my little book of tricks. But this is 3.5, a little more than 3.5. So I went 4, 5 1/4 because I have to. Whenever you make a box, the item that you're going to have, the width. So in this width, I have it at 3.5, almost 3.5, or 3 5/8, 3 5/8. Let's just say. So then I got to add 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go 3.5 to make simple. 3.5. I add 3/4 of an inch, which will bring me to 4 1/4. That's one side, and then the other side would be another 3 1/4. Because I had decided that I wanted my sides to be 3/4 of an inch. Then all you do is add the sides on top. So if I'm going to measure, let me go measure this one. this one here, let's say it's 2 1/4 inch. 2 1/4. If you want the sides to be 3/4 of an inch, I'll add 3/4 of an inch to that. Will bring me to 3 and 3 3/4. And that would fit it all the way around. See how there's room here? Because here we did it at 4 3/4. 4 1/4, pardon me. And if I was going to do it because I wanted to fit snug, I'd have had to cut back an inch. Are you following me? So it's easy as that. Whenever you have something and you want to measure it, you will measure it to this widest point. Here would be 2 3/4. So I want the sides to be 3/4 of an inch. I will add 3/4 of an inch to this, which will bring me 1/4 is 3, and add another 1/4 is 3 1/4, another 1/4 is 3 1/2. Then I want to add another 3/4 of an inch, and then I'll go 3 3/4, 4, 4 1/4. And that's how you end up with this one here. And this fits perfectly. Okay? I hope this has been helpful to you some way. I know I love it. I love the system, and as my stash continues to grow, it really doesn't matter. I don't need to buy any more shelving or whatever. I'll just make some more of those things and put it up. Inexpensive. It works perfectly for me, and I hope it does for you too. So this is Yvonne, and I'm going to close for now, but I'll be back with some more very soon. Have yourself a great day. Most importantly, be happy.